the all-new Volvo V60 Cross Country. Well, it was introduced in late 2014 at the LA Motor Show, while the current model of the Volvo V60, the regular version, was introduced in 2010, and there was a mid-cycle update in 2013. The story of the Volvo Cross Country origins back in 1997 already. They had this V70, a very good selling station wagon, and they were thinking, well, what can we do to sell even more cars? Okay, just lift it up a little bit, give it a little bit more space to the ground, put some off-road stuff on it and sell it, and it worked. And so now we have the V60 as well as a cross-country version. By the way, the S60, probably more popular in other countries as it's a sedan version, is available as a cross-country version as well. The car is produced in Sweden in a factory near Göteborg. And we do have some competitors, at least here in Germany. I'm just naming a few. So we have the Volkswagen Golf All-Track, the Audi A4 All-Road, both just station wagons, and the Opel Insignia or the Vauxhall Insignia Cross Tourer, as well as the Subaru Outback. For the market start, at least in Germany, Volvo is offering the V60 Cross Country with 3 different engines, or at least 2 different engines. We have a gasoline engine with 245 horsepower and a diesel engine with 150 horsepower. That's the D3, and the D4 with 190 horsepower. You can shift the 2 diesel engines manually with a 6-speed manual transmission, or you choose the 8-gear Geartronic automatic transmission by Volvo, which is, by the way, factory setting for the gasoline engine. The Volvo V60 Cross Country always comes with front-wheel drive. For the 190 horsepower diesel engine, there's an all-wheel drive powertrain available as well. Well, let's talk about our test car. This is the heart of our baby, the D4. So it's a 2-liter 4-cylinder inline diesel engine with 190 horses. It's good for maximum torque of 400 Newton meters, and you get them in a range between 1,750 and 2,500 RPM. By the way, we have the front wheel drive here, but it's connected with a 8-speed automatic transmission, the Geartronic by Volvo. The Volvo V60 Cross Country with the 190 horsepower diesel and the automatic transmission accelerates from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour or 62 miles per hour in 7.8 seconds. The top speed is reached at 210 kilometers per hour or 131 miles per hour. The gas tank of the 2015 Volvo V60 Cross Country D4 is good for 68 liters, which equals 18 gallons. Volvo claims a fuel consumption of 4.6 liters on 100 kilometers or 51.1 miles per gallon, which means that under perfect conditions you can drive up to 1,470 kilometers or 910 miles without getting gas. The Volvo V60 Cross Country has a length of 4.64 meters, which equals 183 inches, with a wheelbase of 2.77 meters, which equals 109 inches. It is 1.55 meters high, which equals 61 inches, and from mirror tip to mirror tip it is 2 meters and 10 centimeters wide, which equals 83 inches. As of the turn radius, you need at least 11.3 meters of free space, or 445 inches. The curb weight is 1,712 kilograms, or 3,774 pounds. The admissible total weight is 2,170 kilograms, or 4,784 pounds. Well, before I tell you something about the front of the car, I just want to tell you a little story. I was driving this car on the Autobahn for quite a while, almost 800 kilometers, and I was really surprised. See, in Germany we have most likely 2 or 3 lanes on the Autobahn, of course, and the left lane is a speed lane where you have to drive fast, and wherever you don't have a speed limit you can go as fast as you want. So all the big cars jump on the left lane as soon as they get on the Autobahn and push the throttle and drive really fast until someone in front of them decides, I could overtake this truck, and they go with like 120 kilometers per hour on the left lane. So you're coming from the back with 200 kilometers per hour and you have to push the brake to slow down, and you get, all excited about this dumb fool who just jumped in your lane. Well, it's a lot of thinking about lanes. So on the left lane, you don't want any slow car to jump in your lane. And depending on the car, for instance, the other day we had the Audi RS3. It has a lot of power, it's a fast car, it's a sport car almost, but it looks like a regular Audi A3. So you sit on the Autobahn, you go 250 kilometers per hour on the left lane, you're really concentrated focus, and there's this dummy, on the right lane, hopping on the left lane because far apart there's a truck that he wants to overtake. So you have to go all the way on the brakes to slow down and don't smack him from the Autobahn. And then you can accelerate again. So in the rear mirror, the Audi RS3 just looks like an A3 for most people. While this baby right here, which is actually an SUV sort of car, makes such an impression on other guys that they don't hop on the left lane, and I really enjoyed this. Even this car is not even driving fast. However, in Germany at least, the Volvo V60 Cross Country comes with 3 different option lines. We have the highest line, and it's called Summum over here. In comparison to the regular V60, we have a little bit of differences. Okay, the car is a little bit more up, of course, but the grille is in another, like in a honey mesh design, and you have this dull black here and here and here, and it comes all over the car as well. Besides that, as an option here in Germany, you can order the big xenon lights, and they come with dynamic cornering light, and there's an assistance for the high beams, so you can drive with high beams all the time. And when you have a car in front of you, it sort of spares out this car, so the driver is not disturbed by your high beams. Well, from the side view, you might see at once this car is a little bit higher than the regular V60, 6.5 centimeters, so it has a ground clearance of 20.1 centimeters altogether. The smallest option line comes with 16-inch alloys. The highest option line, the one we have, has 18-inch, and we have optional 19-inch alloys, and I think they suit the car really, really well. The color is called bright silver metallic, and it's one of 10 colors you can choose from. Thinking again about specifics of the V60 Cross Country version, so we have this plastics on the fender, we have black mirror caps and black frames around the windows. That's specific for the cross-country model. Finally, to the back, you might know the long rear lights from the Volvo V60, so it's the same with the cross-country version. The rear lights are with LED techniques, while the turning lights and so on still have normal light bulbs. The big difference between the regular version and the cross-country version starts down here. So we have this black thing again. Here it says cross-country. We have the silver piece like in the front again, to pretend it would be for off-roading. And on both sides we have exhaust pipes. Well, not really pipes. The pipes are down in here and much smaller than what you see. Well, I would like to show you the interior. The door, by the way, opens in an angle of 80 degrees. Well, the 6.5 centimeters more of ground clearance help a lot getting inside the car, at least if you're as old as I am. I have to lean out just a little bit to grab the door. Volvo aims for the premium class, obviously, and I think with the Volvo V60 cross country, they're doing quite a good job. Well, actually, with the V60, because the interior is pretty much the same. We have a soft touch dashboard here all the way. We have different materials like this alloy application or this brushed, whatever it is, applications. We have leather in the door panels and soft touch up here. And here again, this application of alloy. So wherever I touch, I do have a good feeling. And I like what I touch. There's some hard plastic as well. I at least want to mention it, but at places here or here that I really don't touch. The only piece I would touch would be the door of the gloves compartment, which is hard plastic as well. I like that the center console is facing me at least a little bit, and I have all the switches right where I expect them, and it was pretty easy to just jump in the car and drive away because you get used to it pretty fast. When I first had my V40 cross-country test car, which was the first Volvo test car I had in terms of Ausfahrt-TV, I was really blasted by all these buttons here, and I was thinking, it is 2013, it was back then, 2013. Why in the world? Who would, what do they really think? But I have to confess, over the years and a couple Volvos later, I can even use these buttons while driving without staring at them. So you get used to them. Once you buy a Volvo, you'll be fine with all those buttons. Talking about space, this is like a mid-size station wagon, I think. So you do have plenty of space. We just traveled with 4 people in here, and we didn't have any problems, and it didn't feel tight or narrow in here. I think I have a good place and space as a driver in here. Alright, let's start with our regular stuff. You can adjust the height of the safety belts on your shoulder, and I'm just showing you the length of the safety belts. So this is plenty of space, and it's longer than most manufacturers offer the safety belts. The seats, well, we have the highest option line, so we have the leather included in this option line by factory settings, and the driver's seat you can adjust in an you can adjust the driver's seat electrically, while the passenger seat you have to do it manually. So I can adjust it all ways, and I even have an electric lumbar function. By the way, same for the passenger seats, electric lumbar function. You can heat both front seats in 3 intensities. And I have to confess, I really don't like those seats. I really don't. As an option, you can get sport seats. I would really like to try them out, because those seats right here, they don't give me any side support. I know it's not a race car, of course. It's a sort of SUV or crossover or whatever. But still, I like to drive fast, especially in curves. And this seat, those seats, they don't support me in any way while cornering, It was really disappointing. However, I did a long drive in the car, so I had no problems with my back. They're quite comfortable, but they don't have side support. And you can't cool them down either. The steering wheel is adjustable manually. So that's the radius you have. And I counted when I put the steering wheel in the position where I like to drive long distance, so very to the downs that my arms are relieved, I don't see all the things from the cockpit. The steering wheel is covering my something from the cockpit in my view. However, the steering wheel is coated with leather. It's a multifunctional steering wheel, so we have buttons on the left side for the adaptive cruise control or the speed limiter, and on the right side to control the infotainment system, skip songs, volume up and down, or start the speech recognition. For the board computer, you need the stick on the side here, the turning stick, where you have an OK button, a back button, and a little wheel you can choose and rotate whatever you need in the board computer. Yeah, that's it from the steering wheel. The mirrors, both mirrors on the side are pretty big, not too big. They're the right size for the car. And together with the inner mirror, you can really see everything, what's going on in the back. Yeah. By the way, what I like is you have a little button here to release a headrest on the back row. So if you're not driving with any passengers in the back, you can just push this button and the headrest flip down and you can even see more. Right, this way you can see the whole rear window. So together with the other mirrors, everything is fine. Turning my head around, we do have a B pillar, of course, but it's not too big. I don't see a blind spot. Turning my head around the other way, B pillar is fine, C pillar is fine, and if the headrest on the right seat in the back is down, I don't have any problem. If it's up, it covers the little window back there, and then we do have a blind spot. Otherwise, even the D pillar is not too big, and I don't see any big blind spot. We do have a rear camera in here, and it works fine for parking. Everything's fine, but the picture is just awful. This picture does not belong in 2015. This is a new car. It was just presented last year. And please, Volvo, just buy a new camera because this picture is really awful, at least if you ask me. Let me start the engine real quick to help me present you the gouges. Well, we don't have classical style here. We have a display with one round gouge in the middle, in the center. And over the stick here on the side, you can switch between 3 different views or modes or skins. So we have elegance, and in the round gouge we have a speedometer going up to 260. The car runs to 210, so that's fine. On the left side in the wing we have the water temperature. On the right side there's the RPM meter. Going in the view Eco, we have the speedometer again in the middle, in the center, going up to 260 again. On the left side in the wing we have an Eco guide helping us to save fuel. On the right side we have the RPM meter. I all the time use the performance view. So in the round gauge in the middle, we have the RPM meter starting at 5,000, going up to 6,000 RPM, and the range starts at 5,000 RPM. In the middle, in the center, we have a big letter for the speed, so we have a digital speed in this view, and I really like it. On the left side, the water temperature again. On the right side, some power, whatever it means. I think, just shows you how much power you have. On the wings down there we can choose between seeing just the temperature and the time, or even seeing the current fuel consumption on the left side and the reach of your current fuel level on the right side, or the average fuel consumption and the average speed you've driven so far. You can turn this off again, and then further in this little winglet on the left side we have some LEDs that show me how much more gas is in the tank, or diesel in our case, and on the right side the driving program from the automatic transmission. You can read it easily during nighttime as well as during daytime, even if the sun stands on it. The infotainment display has 7-inch, and it looks just a bit too tiny, I think. Maybe it's because it's down in here, so yes, you can put something on here, but it's pretty tiny. You can read it easily and fine, and yeah, it's just okay, I guess. It does a job and you can read it. That's it. We don't have an ambient light in here, just some white light in the foot compartment. We don't have a sunroof in our car, but we do have a horn. It's right here and sounds like that. Welcome in the inside again for the compartment check we always do. In the door panels we have space for this half a liter bottle, maybe an 0.75 liter bottle will fit here in here as well, but that's pretty much it. Behind we still have enough space for CDs, a wallet or whatever. There's nothing else, and behind the middle part we have a compartment you can reach in from both sides. The ground is covered with a surface, with an anti-slip surface, so things don't scoot around. I just put my iPhone in here. Behind this drawer we have two cup holders where this bottle fits in. We have spacers, like, you know, rubber spacers on the sides to protect the bottle from shaking. In here you will probably fit in 1 liter bottles even. And between the two cup holders we even have a 12-volt outlet. Can close this again. The little armrest is not adjustable at all, but you can open it, and here you have quite a deep compartment where this bottle fits in all the way. Well, it did. Come on. Where this bottle fits in all the way this way. Besides that, here is the USB port and an aux in port or line in port for the infotainment system. The gloves compartment indeed is pretty big. By the way, right here we have a SIM card slot. It's illuminated, of course. Well, I don't get this thing back in. And we just have the board material in here and still lots of space. You have two holders for pens and even a holder for pennies in here. And so you can store quite a few things in here. In both sunshades we have makeup mirrors, and they're both illuminated from both sides. And we have reading lights for the driver and the passenger, as well as a big entry light up here. On all four doors we find handles that ease us to get in the car. Okay, and now we're gonna hop, or at least I will hop in the rear and show you around here. Well, due to the ground clearance, getting inside the car in the back is as easy as in the front, and it's even easier to close this door. Well, I'm 180 centimeters tall, so 5'11". The driver's seat is put in a position that I can drive comfortable, and I can sit here in the rear pretty well. I have lots of head space, enough space for my legs, and I can rest my head on the headrest. My mate Toby, he's 195 centimeters tall, so 6'5", and he has quite not really problems, but he has less space for his legs. He has less space for his head, but at least he can put his head on the arm, on the headrest as well. And he says he can sit here all right and even drive longer distances. So if you have big kids, you might want to keep this in mind. The seats themselves are pretty nice. They're almost formed out a little bit. It feels like I have more side support in the back than in the front. Okay, let's look around. In the door we have a compartment, and I can put this half a liter bottle in there just all right, but bigger bottles won't fit in here. In the back of the backrest of the front seats we have a little bag where we can put newspapers, magazines, and so on and so on. In the center we have a 12-volt outlet at least. And just if you're wondering, the air outlets are here in the B-pillar on the sides. In the middle we have an armrest, a pretty big armrest, and inside we find a cup holder where this half a liter bottle fits in just all right, and I think a liter bottle won't fit in here. So once we flip this out, we have a compartment right here, and there's another one right there, but it's not very deep. We have Isofix hooks on both outer seats, and the locks of the safety belts are stable, so little kids won't have problems buckling up, and the seat belts, they are really long. For the kids, we have reading lights, at least for both outer seats. They could be a little bit brighter for my taste. We have handles, and next to the handles we have little hooks for jackets and so on. Of course, we have power-driven windows. They're tainted, by the way, but they don't roll in completely. But at least they do have a protection so no one gets harmed. Let me scoot in the middle real quick. So pretending I would drive with two more grown-ups in the back. This would probably work. The back is pretty hard, but I sit nice and all right. But my ass is covering the locks of the safety belt, so the people had to, fiddle around my butt to buckle up. But once we're all buckled up, I think I could even sit here for 100 kilometers or 100 miles or so on. Okay, at this part I always show you the key first, actually to show you how I can open the trunk with the key. Here's a button and I can release it, but it doesn't open by itself. It does not have an electric hood. So here's a little button right down here, which I can use to open the trunk, and here again is the key, a little plastic key, Volvo badge on one side, 5 buttons on the other side. Pretty simple. And by the way, you can remove the real key if you push it here, and then you can release it. We have 15 cubic feet of space in the trunk, or 430 liters. Our tripod case fits in here pretty easy, which means that we have at least 1 meter of width. And actually I just measured it, it's 1 meter and 10 centimeters. Looking inside the trunk, there's a little trap door, and below the trap door we see a little compartment with a warning vest, first aid kit and the warning triangle. Inside the floor we have another flap where we can lift up, and that's most likely to just separate your luggage from each other so it doesn't mix and scoot around. We have a 12 volt outlet, good for maximum 120 watts on the left side, and we have 4 hooks to tie things up, and that's pretty much it. There's a little lamp, or an LED lamp even, here in the door. I can remove the privacy shield, blind, whatever, pretty easy. That's what I just did. And I can even flip the backrest of the second seat row from here. All I have to do is pull those handles and flip the sides, and we can flip it in a relation 60% on the right side and 40% on the left side. Once we have flipped the backrest of the back seat, we have space for 1,214 liters of luggage. We even get a pretty plain surface here. And by the way, just the other numbers, it's 1 meter to the backrest of the back seats. It's 1 meter and 50 to this part here. I will come to this in a bit. And 1 meter and 80 to the backrest of the driver's seat. And if we scoot the passenger seat in the very front, we even gain 20 more centimeters. So we can put in luggage here up to a length of 2 meters. So this beast here and here, we have protection, like goods protection actually. So we can pull this out here and, put it in here on this side as well as on this side. Well, I'm not getting it here. However, well, pretend I would get it. We could use this part as well, put it in there, and then you're protected from goods in the trunk. I think it's a neat idea. I wouldn't use it, and so I think it's just over because, that's too much for me here at this part. You can load up to 458 kilograms inside the Volvo V60 Cross Country, which equals 1,010 pounds. By the way, you can store up to 75 kilograms on the roof. And you can even install a hook and pull trailers up to a weight of 1.8 tons if the trailer has its own brakes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. By the way, in case you're interested, the clearance of the back door is about 2 meters and 15 centimeters. Let me share my driving experience here with the Volvo V60 cross-country D4 with a 190 horsepower diesel. First of all, 190 horses is just enough for this car. I never felt the need for more power, except once you drive like 120 kilometers per hour on the autobahn, on the highway, and then you want to accelerate up to 160, it takes a while. But you can press the stick from the manual transmission to the left, and then it goes into a sport mode. And being in sport, the car shifts, or the automatic transmission shifts later up and earlier down, so you're a little bit more sporty by the way. Once you have it in sport, you can even pull or push the handle and shift the gears manually if you want to. And the 8-speed Geartronic automatic transmission works with charm, no problems at all. It shifts very smooth, and I hardly felt it. You know, you don't recognize whenever it's shifting, even if you're in sport and really push the throttle. So that's a fine transmission. The brakes are fine too. They suit the car perfectly. You have no problem slowing down the car in any condition, and you can really be tender with the brake pedal because it gives you a perfect feedback and does exactly what you want. So yeah. The steering is just fine. It's not an adaptive steering, by the way, so you can order one as an option, but I didn't feel any need for an adaptive steering driving this car anyway. It's pretty direct. In the middle you have a little bit of, you know, where it doesn't do anything, but once you do corners and all that, or you're driving in the city, it's just fine. I have nothing bad to say about the steering at all. Anyhow, the suspension is kind of stiff. Well, overall it's an SUV, so you can say, well, you know, the suspension is supposed to be a little bit harder than with a normal sedan or station or E-State version, but it could be a little bit more comfortable for my taste. The seats I already mentioned, I don't like them too much because they don't give me enough side support. Toby, however, says that the seats are fine for him and he doesn't have any problems with the side support. So maybe if you're a little bit bigger, the seats suit you better. However, my girl was sitting in the back the other day and she was asking me, Daddy, is the suspension broken or something? Because she thought it was just way too hard in the back, just mentioning it. I didn't sit in the back, so I can't tell you myself. The fuel consumption, Volvo says 4.6 liters diesel on 100 kilometers. We say between 8.4 and 8.6 liters. So we almost doubled the value that Volvo claims. I think that's just a little bit too much because we didn't drive too fast. Yes, I did take the car on the autobahn, and yes, I did drive 210 for quite a while, but it was not like, you know, all the time. And quite a few kilometers, we did around 1,000 kilometers with the car. Quite a few kilometers of this I was just driving 120, 140. So I'm not really sure why the fuel consumption is so bad for our test drive. There's an Eco Plus button here in the middle, and I have to confess I hardly used it, So next week we will get the S60, so the sedan version of the cross-country model, and I make sure that I use the Eco Pro or the Eco Plus button all the time in order to see if I can make a little bit better fuel consumption. Talking about noises in the car, wind noises start at 120 kilometers per hour, really silent. They get a little bit louder at 150, but they don't get louder up to 210 kilometers per hour. And you still can have a decent conversation in the front, so no problems at all. We do have quite a few assist systems here in the car. First of all, I want to mention the collision warner. I can activate or deactivate it here by a button. So when I regular drive and there's a car in front of me, if I'm not having enough distance to the car, then 4 little LEDs glow up here in my view in the windshield. And if I go even further and reduce the distance to the car, at some point it starts blinking, flashing really in a deep red blue. It starts flashing red with 8 or even 12 LEDs, and you have a signal noise as well, warning you in a really good way. By the way, it even warns you in case they are dead objects, like I'm living in a tiny road where I have to, pull around the corners, and if there are cars in the corner parking, it warns me if I'm getting too close. We have a blind spot warner, the little LED in the side in front of the mirror. Works with charm, warns you if there are a car up to 60 meters in your back in the blind spot, and if you don't see the blind spot signal and you put the turn signal in this direction anyway, it starts flashing and gives you a really good, it gets your attention. We have a traffic sign recognition in here as well, which works most likely with charm. Once you have traffic signs or speed limits on both sides. If it's just on one side, it does not always work. And I think I had problems with the signs that show you the end of the city limits. It does not always cover this when you leave the city limits. I'm not too much of a fan of this infotainment system right here, but it works fine. The GPS navigation system works fine and guided me wherever I wanted to. I just don't like this turning wheel with this OK and exit button. I would rather have something real like Mercedes, Audi or whatever have, like a real jog shuttle. The speakers, however, in our summum option line, just fine, and I wouldn't even bother about buying some other speakers for this car. They're fine. And we have an adaptive cruise control, so I can tell the cruise control which speed I want to travel in, and it goes as far as I told the system to go, unless there's a slower car in front of me. So the adaptive cruise control stays in the same distance to the car and slows down itself too. We have a lane keeping assist, which is partly active, I guess. First of all, we have in the display, we see our car, and once it recognizes both lanes, both lines of the lane, it shows them in a bright white, while if it doesn't recognize the lines, they are like in dull gray. So when I cross one of the lines, it is shown in red here in the display, and if I ignore the warning, it even starts vibrating the steering wheel. And it does prevent the car from crossing the lane. Really, I don't know, it's not as aggressive like the systems that I know from the Volkswagen company that really try to keep the car in the middle of the lanes. Here it just prevents you from going over the lane. Well, let me sum up real quick at the end of our review. Did I have fun driving the car? Ooh, I don't know. Well, see, Toby, my mate, he says, yes, I had fun driving the car. It was a fun drive. I say, no, I didn't have too much fun. It's a fast one. It's a good traveler. It's a good car for long distance. But really driving fun, especially in curves, no, I say no. No side support on the seats for me. And with the whole setup of the car, I was not really pleased. But two opinions for one car. Toby likes it. Fuel economy, fuel efficiency, well, no. Volvo claims 4.6 liters, we say 8.4 liters. So we almost doubled the value of Volvo, and that's quite a bit. I have to say there's a little tiny button, it says E+, so you can activate in eco mode. We will have the same car here in a few days again as a sedan version, and I will really keep this button pushed to see if I can, get closer to what Volvo says. Right now, this car is just drinking too much, for my opinion. Usage as a daily driver, both thumbs up. You have enough space for 4 grown-ups. You have a big trunk as well. You can easily get in, get out, even if you have an old bag like I do. And even putting stuff in the trunk is pretty easy since, you can just push it in there. Comfort, well, we have two different opinions again. I say it's not very comfortable. The seats are fine, but the whole suspension is just way too stiff for me. I was driving with my daughter, and she asked me, sitting in the back, Dad, is a car broken or something? Because it was just too stiff for her in the back. Toby says, well, he didn't sit in the back, but he says while driving, he thinks it's comfortable, and he has no problems with the seats either, maybe because he's just a little bit bigger than me. Well, summing up my personal opinion, and that's really weird what I will tell you now. I think the whole concept of the car is just plain stupid. We take an E-State car and just lift it up and make it sort of like, hey, you smell a little bit SUV. I mean, how stupid is this? On the other hand, just looking from the outside, I think it's damn sexy. I like this car. It really, just looking at it, especially with this 19-inch alloys they put on here, I think it's a damn sexy car. I really like it. Okay, please let me know in the comments what you think about the Volvo V60 Cross Country like we have it here. Do you think it's a sexy car, or is it really downturner or something? If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. If you have any suggestions or anything else, just let us know in the comments and we are trying to answer. If you want to help us, please give us a thumb up to motivate us. And if you do even more, please share this video on all the social networks